Definitely.
Are there any kind of nuggets of just, hey, if you are making this transition, whether it be an inventory or
Mhm.
just how you're thinking about things, what should people make sure they do or don't do?
I'm a big believer in investing in any kind of forecasting software in any way, shape, or form. The more in tune you can be with those forecasts across the retailer platform and knowing how you plan that supply, to your point, I think a lot of companies, people would be surprised you're still living in the Excel spreadsheets, even though how complex our businesses are. So if your business can afford to invest, make automation your best friend. There's other areas of the business to spend more time on strategy. And I think if you can really invest in the software for forecasting, it's going to be a game changer. And I think really just understanding the world of supply chain and the guidelines that each retailer is expecting you to perform at before you launch. I think it's extremely important to understand the compliance standards, and they're all different, so it's a lot of work to really learn what those are and understand them. But logistics teams, transportation teams, distribution teams, sales teams, get together, hold hands, set some responsibilities, and hold your teams accountable for making sure that you know what's in your supplier agreements. You don't want to be banging your head against the wall a year from now that you didn't do any of that due diligence, and then you're paying for it. And it's really going to affect your margins down the road. And I think the more that you are aware of what those guidelines are, you're going to be in a much more profitable place across the board and in a healthier supply chain, which we can only hope for.
No, I was just going to add to what Jessica said, because I completely agree. We work with a lot of different companies today, and something that we see that really sets more sophisticated teams apart is just their willingness to cross lines, so to speak. This is aging me, but I've been doing this for a while. But back when I was calling on Walmart and Sam's Club, sales did sales and the supply chain did supply chain. And my only job was to get the product in the door, and good luck to the supply chain team. Hope you guys can fulfill those orders. Hope finance team can invoice and get all the dollars. And that it's really evolved nowadays, to Jessica's point. And it's interesting because I feel like retailers are forcing that evolution a little bit. So when Walmart introduced On Time in Full, for example, or the SQEP, Supplier Quality Excellence Program, these are now fines that are hitting sales and supply chain and finance teams. And so everyone is forced to have those conversations a little bit. It's not just, oh no, we got a fine or a deduction, we have to go fight that. It's, let's figure out why we got that and how can we prevent that from happening. So I think, to Jessica's point, is communicating across teams as early as you possibly can so everyone is on the same page. And the only thing that I would add that I think is a little bit different than e-commerce going into brick and mortar is having a launch strategy is incredibly important. But having an exit strategy, I think, is something that a lot of teams don't think about.
Tell me about that. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, on e-commerce, the other name for it is the endless shelf, right? So as long as you have a website up, you can continue to sell the product. And obviously you can be smart about it. If it's not as popular, you can buy down inventory and things like that. At a company like Walmart or Target, it is not uncommon for them, if things aren't going as well as they hope, or you're not selling as much as they wish you would be, they can knock you off the shelf. And it's scary. A lot of times it happens, and a lot of teams don't have a lot of warning for that. And so do you have a plan in place for if Walmart were to cut your inventory tomorrow? What does that look like? Where are you going to sell that down? Do you have an exit strategy to make sure that you're able to still remain as profitable as possible? Or is it something where in inventory planning, you say, hey, we're going to not produce the entire year's worth of inventory all at once. We're going to stagger it. Whatever makes the most sense for your team. Just think about what happens if things go great, which we all hope happens. Awesome. But if things don't go great, what is the plan to get out of it if that happens?
I've seen that so many times where a small company will get lots of distribution, with Walmart in particular, do well for a year or two, and then Walmart says, oh, thanks, but no thanks. And that company's out of business because all their cash is tied up in inventory. It can almost be the kiss of death. And I love that idea of kind of planning for an exit strategy.
Definitely. And hopefully not pigeonholing your inventory to one retailer. Sometimes it happens, but hopefully you'll be able to move it around between retailers or to D2C, hopefully.